The first one you can test is the Type 25. This assault rifle has a recoil pattern that looks like a wonky Z. It's all over the place and it can be a real pain to control when it suddenly changes direction. Can we improve it without ruining the build? Sadly, no. You'll have to learn it to be completely efficient with the Type 25. And in the process, you might learn that it isn't an effective gun at all in today's meta. Have you ever used a weird recoil gun like this? So in my last video, I talked about getting better at recoil control. But honestly, if you're still using easy mode weapons like the BP-50 or the MG42, you're not really learning anything. Those guns are basically laser beams. It's like playing the game on beginner mode. If you really want to master recoil control, you gotta step up your game. To help you refine your recoil control skills, we've compiled a list of 11 weapons with unique and challenging recoil patterns. Keep in mind that this is not a ranked top 11 list, but rather a collection of effective weapons for improving recoil control. Before we move on, here's the build for the Type 25. Monolithic suppressor, MIP extended light barrel, RTC steady stock, granulated grip tape, and stopping power reload. Next up, we got the Peacekeeper. It has one of the worst recoil patterns in the AR category, if not the worst. It goes initially left, then right, then back left again, all that in the first 15 shots. But don't worry, you can actually make this gun usable with the right attachments. You can limit that horizontal recoil by using the foregrip attachment instead of the stock, and you'll still have decent mobility while greatly reducing the horizontal recoil. But if you're able to control the Peacekeeper after a bit of practice, you can pretty much control any weapon. The same way, if you're able to control the vertical climb of a Fennec, nothing will seem to be climbing too quickly. With the Peacekeeper, if you're able to learn the pattern and be efficient with it, there isn't a single weapon out there that will cause you any trouble after a bit of practice. It's like the final exam of recoil control. For the build, you can use the Agency Suppressor, Task Force Barrel, Agile Stock, Double Stack Mag, and the Firm Grip Tape. When I said practice with the Peacekeeper and no weapon will trouble you, well, I lied. Except maybe one, and that's the PPSH-41. The PPSH recoil pattern is like a weird hybrid of the Fennec and the Type 25. It has this crazy fast rate of fire, and the recoil climbs like a rocket while doing this weird zigzag thing. The good news is, the recoil pattern itself isn't hard to learn, unlike on the Peacekeeper. But here's the catch. Being able to be consistent even after practicing with it is a whole different story, because here, the recoil climbs quite quickly, so you have to control it vertically and horizontally while adjusting your aim during the gunfight. For the build, equip the OW Light Suppressor, Guerrilla Light Short Barrel, No Stock, Sleight of Hand Perk, and Sturdy Grip Tape. The next contender is the AS Val. It's a sneaky little gun with a recoil pattern that's hard to predict. First it goes left, then right. It doesn't climb particularly quickly, but it never climbs at the same speed. When we said in the previous video that we needed a lot of timing, that's what we meant, because this gun requires some serious skill and timing to master. Here, initially it doesn't go that fast, then it speeds up, then it slows down, then it speeds up again. And that will most likely throw your aim off, so that's definitely a weapon you want to practice recoil control with. If you can do it, you'll be rewarded with a weapon that's both deadly and satisfying to use. So far, only the Peacekeeper had the capacity to limit the recoil from being too complicated to control without ruining the stats, and that's still the case. On the AS Val, there is no free slot whatsoever that could help us without ruining the stats. The recommended build features the MIP Quick Response Barrel, OWC Skeleton Stock, OWC Tactical Laser, Large Extended Mag B, and the Granulated Grip Tape. The next one we have is the AK-117. It's weird because the recoil pattern is random. It's like the gun has a mind of its own and decides to go wherever it wants. If the recoil was consistent, this gun would be a piece of cake to control. But that's not the case, and that's what makes it so challenging. You can limit the randomness by adding attachments that limit horizontal recoil, such as the Marksman Barrel, but that will literally nuke the mobility and make it worthless. But honestly, the best way to master the AK-117 is to just embrace the randomness and learn to adapt. One great thing about the AK-117's random recoil pattern is that it trains you to do a lot of micro adjustments because you never know where it's going, and it's actually really good aim training. Think of it as a fun little game of guess where the bullets are going. For the AK-117 build, it's the Monolithic Suppressor, MIP Extended Light Barrel, No Stock, 48 round extended mag, and the Granulated Grip Tape. Alright, let's talk about the Pharaoh. This is a burst weapon, which adds a whole new layer of complexity to recoil control and might be interesting to learn. The Pharaoh, specifically as a burst weapon, has probably the worst recoil you could have. On top of that, Just like the AK-117, the recoil pattern is completely random. So not only do you have to deal with the burst recoil, but you also have to contend with the unpredictable horizontal movement. But hey, if you're up for a challenge, the Pharaoh can be a really rewarding gun to master. You can use this build with the monolithic suppressor, OWC marksman barrel, YKM light stock, underbarrel stun gun, and the 36 round fast reload. The Maddox is a bit different from the other guns on this list, basically the opposite of pretty much everything we've mentioned in this video. The recoil here starts with a pretty standard just pull down recoil pattern, but then it suddenly stops and goes sideways a bit. This little sideways move can catch you off guard at first, but it's actually not that hard to control. And here's the cool thing, it's a great way to help you familiarize with the timing part of the recoil control without having to actually focus on the horizontal recoil or anything else. You just need to learn how to anticipate that sudden sideways shift and adjust accordingly. For the gunsmith build, try the monolithic silencer barrel, agile stock, aim assist laser, fast grip, and extended mag A. The next weapon we want to talk about is the AGR-556. This thing has a complex pattern that goes a bit left, then right, then left, and so on. To really dominate with the AGR-556, it requires perfect pattern control to be able to take gunfights at mid-range, but with the potential of this weapon being really good, I can only recommend you to try and learn the recoil pattern because it's not the worst out there. So if you're up for the challenge, I strongly suggest you consider trying out the AGR-556. It might take some time to get used to, but once you do, you'll be a force to be reckoned with. It's easily one of the best guns on this list, right up there with the Peacekeeper and the GKS. Now for the build, use it with the monolithic suppressor, MIP extended light barrel, YKM light stock, 60 round 556 reload, and granulated grip tape. Alright, now for a gun that's gonna test your thumbs, the MX-9. One of the worst recoils to control as it goes straight to the right. This sideways recoil makes it extra tricky to track enemies that are moving to the left. You basically have to overcompensate with your aim, which can really feel awkward at first. To effectively counter your enemy's movement and recoil, you'll need to perform a significantly larger finger slide. The side benefit is that if the enemy goes to the right, it'll be easy to track them. For the MX-9 recommended build, use it with the built-in silence barrel, agile stock, infiltrator foregrip, large caliber ammo, and firm grip tape. Now let's move on to the GKS. This SMG might seem a bit tame compared to some of the wild ones we've covered, but it still has a few tricks up its sleeve. The GKS doesn't have a random recoil pattern, but it definitely feels like it does. The recoil speed changes constantly during the first few shots, which can really mess with your aim if you're not prepared. This unpredictable speed can make the GKS feel a bit awkward and uncomfortable to use at first. But the good news is that it's not super difficult to master. With a little bit of practice, you'll be able to anticipate those speed changes and keep your shots on target. So, if you're looking for an SMG that's a bit more manageable than some of the others on this list, but still offers a unique challenge, give the GKS a try. For the build, use it with the monolithic suppressor, OWC marksman, YKM light stock, 40 round extended mag, and granulated grip tape. Okay, if you thought the GKS was a bit wild, then get ready for the Striker 45. It has a similar recoil pattern to the GKS, but with even more vertical kick and even more unpredictable speed changes. Honestly, the Striker 45 has some of the most difficult recoil to manage in the entire SMG category. It's like the developers took the GKS, cranked the difficulty up to 11, and then threw a few extra surprises just for fun. Here's the gunsmith build for it. Monolithic suppressor, 300mm poly barrel, FSS Guardian stock, OWC tac laser, and 45 round mags. Which one of these guns is your favorite and which one's the hardest to master? Let us know in the comments below. If you're struggling to control any of these guns, check out this video to learn how to tame them.